Most people already have a little ritual before buying anything expensive. Refresh, switch devices, check again, maybe open incognito. That sounds normal until you realize it's the behavior of someone who no longer trusts the rules in front of them. That is the threat. Not that prices move, not that demand changes, that the number on the screen may no longer belong only to the thing you're buying. It may belong to you, to how long you waited, how often you checked, whether you're logged in, whether the system thinks you're cautious, loyal, impatient, or already cornered. This is what the video is really about. Dynamic pricing, surge pricing, personalized offers, demand-based ticketing, loyalty segmentation, storefronts that no longer show one public reality, but several private ones at once. And the trap is simple. If the price changes depending on who is looking, then the market is no longer just measuring supply and demand. It is measuring people. You've felt this before. A flight goes up after you refresh. A ride gets more expensive the second it starts raining. A concert ticket jumps while you're still on the checkout page. You log in and get one offer. You log out and get another. Same product, same minute, same city, different number. That is where the idea stops being theoretical. Because once that happens, the disturbing part is not the increase itself. It's the feeling that something has already made a decision about you before you made one about it. It stops being a purchase. It becomes a private negotiation you were never invited into. A public price used to mean something simple. The world was asking everyone the same question: do you want this or not? Now the question is narrower. How badly do you want it? How much friction will you tolerate? How much uncertainty before you give up? Look at how ordinary the behavior already is. People check flights on their phone, then their laptop. They compare the app to the browser. They clear cookies, even when they're not sure it matters. They open private windows like they're sneaking around their own life. Not because they're irrational, because they've learned the rules may not be stable. And once you learn that, budgeting starts to rot in a very specific way. Not in a dramatic way, in a domestic way. You tell yourself the trip might cost around $400, then it's $460, then $510, then the hotel moves, then the ride to the airport surges because a game let out downtown. Then the member price appears for one person and not another. It gets harder to plan because the number never holds still long enough to trust. And if you can't trust the number, you stop feeling like you're budgeting against reality. You start feeling like you're budgeting against a mood. At some point, this became normal. That may be the ugliest part, not the technology, the adaptation. Because the system does not need you to understand it perfectly. It only needs you to behave around it. Refresh faster, hesitate less, buy now, check again, panic sooner next time. The obvious defense is to say this is just pricing efficiency. Markets move, airlines adjust, ride apps respond to demand, stores test promotions, loyalty programs reward some people more than others. All of that is true, and it still misses the point. Pricing used to feel external. Now it increasingly feels responsive to your private condition. That is a psychological difference, not just an economic one, because when a number feels like it may be reading your urgency, your behavior changes before your thoughts do. You become more watchful, more suspicious, a little more ashamed of needing something at the wrong moment. You didn't notice when it started. Then comes the more uncomfortable layer. If the system can tell when demand is high, that's one thing. If it can tell when you are likely to stop resisting, that's another. And modern life is full of those moments. You need a ride because it's late and the train is gone. You need the ticket because your sister's wedding is in 3 days. You need the hotel because the meeting was moved. You need the medicine delivered because you can't leave the house. The purchase is not random anymore. It is tied to time pressure, fatigue, obligation, embarrassment. That is where explanation turns into exposure, because a price that rises with demand feels impersonal. A price that rises when your options collapse feels different, even if the system never says that out loud, even if the interface stays clean, even if it still looks like convenience. Here's the quiet shock. You're sitting with someone else, maybe a friend, maybe your partner, maybe a co-worker, trying to book the same thing. You both check. Same flight, same ticket tier, same time. One price on your screen, a lower one on theirs. Nothing dramatic happens after that. You just sit there for a second, staring at two phones, realizing the marketplace did not present one reality and let both of you respond to it. It judged separately. and one of those judgments was worse. This is where trust starts to erode. Not just trust in the company, trust in the scene itself. Because now every number carries a second question behind it. Is this the price, or is this my price? And that question spreads. It reaches grocery delivery, hotel apps, food apps, event tickets, retail offers that appear after you linger, discounts that arrive only after you abandon the cart. A sale used to mean the store lowered the price. Now it can mean the system lowered it for someone. That sounds small until you have to live inside it. Because then you start developing little private strategies that would have looked paranoid a decade ago. You wait. You check at night. You ask someone else to search. You try not to click too fast or too often. You call it being smart. But there is a point where smart starts to look like trained, and that training does something to the self. It teaches you to hide urgency, to conceal desire, to treat need like weakness, to assume the system will use visible hunger against you. That's bigger than commerce. Because once you get used to the idea that the world might show different rules to different people, fairness stops feeling like a structure and starts feeling like luck, and luck is hard to build a life on. You see it socially, too. One person thinks prices are manageable because their offers look better. Another feels like everything is slipping out of reach because every screen seems slightly more expensive, slightly less stable. They are both talking about the same economy, but they are not standing in the same one. That is how shared reality weakens now. Not through one giant lie, through millions of customized surfaces. After that, even comparison becomes awkward. People swap tips instead of assumptions. Which app did you use? Were you logged in? Did you search earlier? Did you wait too long? Did your account have points? Listen to how strange that is. A simple posted number used to close conversation. Now it opens an investigation. And the investigation never fully ends because you can never be sure whether you lost to the market, to timing, or to a quiet profile built from your habits. That is the philosophical crack. You are slowly becoming someone who no longer meets a price as a fact. You meet it as a psychological event, something to interpret, something to distrust, something that may be flattering someone else while punishing you, something that may know you need this more than you want to admit. And once that starts, the damage is not only financial, it gets into your posture, into your decisions, into the small embarrassment of feeling measurable. You look at a number and wonder what you did to deserve it, what signal you sent, what weakness you revealed. That is a cold way to live, not because it is visibly oppressive, because it is privately corrosive. No one has to announce that fairness is leaving. You just keep refreshing, keep checking, keep adapting, until one day the ritual itself tells the truth. That you do not fully believe the world in front of you is the same world being shown to everyone else. That you have learned to approach ordinary purchases like a person negotiating with an invisible judge. That even before you click buy, some part of you is already bracing for unequal treatment, and maybe the final loss is not the extra money. Maybe it is what happens after enough of these moments pile up. You stop expecting reality to be public. You stop expecting rules to be visible. You stop assuming the number on the screen is a shared object at all. You just hope it is less cruel this time. If the price is different for everyone, what happens to the feeling that reality is shared at all?